So hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into today's webinar. Today, we're tapping onto a topic that we've been asked 1,000 times so far from almost every single community member we have at LaunchDXB. So we decided to actually address this topic and more through a joint collaboration and a joint meetup with our partners at Founder Institute. In a few seconds, Samir is going to introduce more Founder Institute and what they actually do. But before that, allow me to tell you a little bit about LaunchDXB, what we do and how we support founders and startups in general for those who still don't know the platform much well. LaunchDXB acts as a platform supporting pre-incubated and pre-accelerated startups. What we do is, number one, we connect them to education resources where we host sessions and workshops around everything entrepreneurship, similar to the session we have today. The second thing we offer is our mentorship path, through which we help our mentors, our founders connect with mentors who can help them actually address specific startup needs and who can help guide them on different challenges they're facing. And lastly, what we do, we have a mentorship, a service path through which we help our founders connect with service providers that they need to get up and running with their businesses. This includes business setup organizations, consultants, law firms, accounting firms, what have you. So this is quickly where we actually come from and what LaunchDXB is all about. Samir, would you like to introduce us to Founder Institute?
Absolutely. First of all, Diala and the LaunchDXB team, thank you very much for co-organizing this event. Very grateful. Omar and Rashed, welcome to the session. Just to quickly give you in a nutshell, Founder Institute is the world's largest pre-seed startup accelerator, having accelerated 5,000 plus companies since 2009. We are present in 90 countries, 200 plus cities. Our total portfolio valuation is $30 billion plus. And we have launched here in the UAE right in the midst of the pandemic in September 2020. And we have seen a very high growth since launch. We've kind of graduated 5 cohorts. Our 6th cohort is beginning on the 8th of March. And we have about 22 companies on our portfolio since launch in September 2020. Our UAE GCC valuation is about $21 million. And I lead the GCC region as FI's regional director. If you would like to have more information, please visit fi.co. You'll have all the information about Founder Institute. It's a 14-week program, typically meant for pre-seed founders to launch a fundable business. That's what we aim to provide. And we have a solid network of investors who we prepare through Investor Acceleration Program called VC Lab. And we have now matched the founders to the investors within our network, now called the FI Venture Network. So here is a whole set of network of about 25,000 plus mentors. Our portfolio includes Udemy, which just recently went IPO, and some of the big names, and you'll kind of see that from the website. We have some great founders from the region as well, who have graduated, and we keep hosting alumni sessions. So yeah, I mean, again, I think the most important thing for any founder is how do I move from pre-seed funding stages to the next stages, and then kind of really wrap up my investment thesis and kind of get funded. And yeah, so that's what we are here to discuss. And I hand it over back to Diala.
Thank you so much, Samir. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, we are tapping onto a topic that's widely asked: how can I raise funding and how can I have access to raising funding? So to address this topic in specific, we thought of inviting a joint somehow community member of both LaunchDXB and a mentor at Founder Institute, who's Omar bin Prek. He's actually the founder of Falasi, which is a prominent UAE-based fintech startup that raised a seed round of $500,000 and a pre-series A of $2 million. So he has vast expertise dealing with investors Omar, would you like to introduce yourself before we kick off the session? And then we have Rashed after you also introduce himself.
Absolutely. My name is Omar. I'm the founder of Falasi. It's a great honor to be part of this FI. I've been part of it as a mentor, I think, for the past year, and I put it everywhere. I'm a mentor of the FI. So I'm so proud and so honored. I'm here to talk with you guys, to share with you my experience. So it doesn't mean that what I will say is going to be the absolute correct path, but it's just an experience that I will share with you. And just remember, in life, there is always multiple paths and different views and on things. And good luck, and thanks everyone for attending today. And yeah, thanks Diala for inviting me. Diala connects everyone. She's a connecting person. She connects everyone.
I love starting meaningful conversations. So yes. Thank you, Omar. And now, actually, also as the second part of the conversation, we actually invited Rashed, who's one of the investors in Falasi, because as you know, money comes from one entity and actually gets funded into the startups. So Rashed, would you like to introduce yourself quickly to the community?
Yes. So my name is Rashed Al-Falasi. I'm the founder and CEO of Liwa Coffee Roastery, which is a coffee factory based in Umm Al-Quwain. It will be the largest specialty coffee roastery hopefully in the Middle East. Focus on specialty mostly to mass produce it and making it more affordable for people to experience good coffee. Other than that, I'm a serious entrepreneur. I've been in the F&B industry, and I also been into tech companies. I invest in startups such as Falasi. So I have only 2 investments in startups. Both of them are doing really well. So my experience as a founder made me choose, hopefully the right companies. I also invest in crypto. I'm interested in the crypto space and also esports. So yeah, this is it.
Thank you. So let's start actually with the questions. I have prepared multiple questions that we usually actually receive and get asked. So in case anybody in the audience actually would like to raise any questions, I would really appreciate if we can wait till the end, because probably I'm going to be tapping onto the topic of your interest. And then in case anybody has any further questions, we can address them through the chat box, or you can address them directly to me. So to start with, Omar, how was the journey actually of coming up with the overall concept of Falasi and moving forward with it? So how did you actually move forward with building this huge company of yours?
So the concept itself is really it was just seeing the problem in 2017. I read the report from the central bank, the UAE central bank, which said that over 70% of the UAE's economy is cash-based transactions. And I read the report, an online report, which said that over 80% of customer behavior in the UAE, they prefer cash on delivery orders. But I've realized that the UAE has the highest smartphone penetration in the world. I think it was at 2 smartphones on average per person. So some people do have 3 smartphones and so on. And it has the highest internet access in the world also. Every household has an internet access. So when I realized that, I thought there is room here for some digital transformation. It isn't just an issue of small business owners not having access to ما ادري يا اخوي محمد اذا المايك عندك شغال بس يعطيك العافيه. So we have I've realized that there is some there's room for digital transformation. So we've realized that if we build something for small business owners who are not, let's say, not accepted by the banks, even till today, it's challenging for small business owners to open a bank account, to find a way to accept card payments online and so on. So we've begun to build this payment gateway. But initially, what I want to say is I had the idea. I had the concept playing on my mind, and I've written it down and I've played around with it online. I've done some research and everything. The first thing that I did is I've joined Shara, which is Sharjah Entrepreneurship Center, as a volunteer in its first event, which was SEF, Sharjah Entrepreneurship Event Festival in 2017, end of 2017, which was their first festival ever. And it was Shara's first year. I joined there as an intern. And then I pitched to them from an inside my idea. And they've liked it. And they've accepted me. And they've accepted my idea. And once I got accepted in the Shara as an incubator program, which started in January 2018, it was the first big move for me. Now I've got an idea. I'm part of an incubator program. The reason why I'm saying this and emphasizing on this is because FI and these accelerator programs are really important for a startup founder, especially in this region. So I've joined this program. And then I've connected in this program with a co-founder. So a co-founder who is a techie, and he's our CTO, Chief Technology Officer in our company, and he's my co-founder. And I've connected with him, and I told him, I am part of an incubator program. I have the idea. Would you want to join me? I offered him the opportunity to join me, and we shook hands, and we became a one team. So we've gone through this incubator program. It was 6 months. We've learned the academic way of running a business, a startup, an academic way of being an entrepreneur, because we've had this idea and we start to program it and code it, but then we needed this, KPIs, looking for, all of that stuff. So I've learned how to do pitch decks. I think the questions about pitch decks will come up. So I've learned how to do a pitch deck in there. I've learned how to do so many things and how to pitch to investors. We did some dummies. They've brought in some investors. So we started to do some pitching and so on, training on how to pitch. They put us in front of people to speak. And then I was learning how to speak in front of others. So many good things in there. I think this is good enough for me to say. Huh?
It is actually that's not the questions I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Unstoppable. I love this. But no, actually tapped onto a point I wanted to also ask about, which is the importance of joining incubators and accelerators to better refurbish your business idea. So from a founder point of view, would you recommend it, for example, in case someone is here, wants to apply to an accelerator incubator? Do you have one advice or two advice for them to know where to go and which players to actually join their cohorts?
Yes, 1000%. This market is not investor friendly too much, like the US and so on. So you're not going to find your investor in an elevator and tell him a 10-second pitch and he will give you $50,000. It's not like that in here. So you need to join an incubator program. You must join them. For me, I believe if you're a founder, if you have a new idea, even if your idea is running, or if you're in that growth stage, accelerator program, any program in the UAE is a must for you as a founder, regardless of where you are, which stage you are. It's a must for you. This is what I believe. And then from there, you pick up and you get to know, and the doors of opportunities open for you a lot more. You need it a lot in this region.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Actually, the connections even incubators and accelerators can give a new startup and an emerging startup are really priceless. So thank you for the feedback. Rashed, at which stage of the whole startup journey do you think it's the right stage for a startup to actually reach out to you or to other similar investors?
Well, it depends on investors. Most of them, they want to see traction. For me, when I met Umar, I think they just launched. They don't have any transactions. It's basically the decision was made, this is a cool company I want to build, but you know what, let me be part of it, invest in it and see it grow. So it depends on the investor. Some people, they have less appetite for risk, and some people, they want to see attraction. So it depends on the type of investor.
And what did Umar actually reach out to you, or was it the other way around?
Actually, it was a weird way to know Umar. I wasn't supposed to meet him actually. So there was a Shira event in Sharjah. It's like entrepreneurial event. And I was leaving the event. And while I'm leaving the event, I met a friend of mine who told me, come Rashed, let me show you some cool companies here. I wasn't planning to go to the startup booth. So I don't know if I have told you about this, but So I said, let me go there. And I looked at all the companies, and I liked what Umar is doing. They have an amazing product. I tested the product at the same time while I'm there. So I had to choose between two companies. One was Falasi, and one was the an app for cosmetic surgeries, marketplace. So I had to choose Falasi, which is something was more interested for me. So yeah. So the relationship was very fast. The decision was done very fast, and things were going very smooth.
Cool, amazing. Omar, from your point of view, when did you feel like you were actually investment ready? Or you are confident enough to literally knock on investors' doors and take an investment conversation forward with them?
Okay, so again, I'm going to reiterate the point of being an important part of being part of an incubator program or a seed program or an accelerator program in the UAE, because this is where investors meet you as a startup founder and so on. And this is a real true story, Actually, my original plan was to try and feed off the incubator program at Shara as long as possible. Launch our program there, and get as much grants as possible, win as much competitions as possible, and so on, and try to bootstrap the company in its first at least few months. Luckily, in that event, we were there. We were showcasing our startup, which was just getting the launch ready, and yes, Rashed passed by our booth, and we had the conversation, and he was really interested. And I don't know the story why he passed. It is the first time I know now, 3 years down the line. But what happened is he was very interested, and he did join as a merchant and as a customer. He downloaded the app as a customer, and he joined Falasi as a merchant, and he's used it for his. At that time, he had Slash Coffee, I think. So he's used it for his business. And he really liked it. He called me. He said, I like your product. I've used it. It works. I'm up for investing. And we had a discussion, and he invested. Was I investor ready in terms of the product? It was ready. In terms of the business, it was ready. In terms of the idea, it was ready. In terms of myself and my co-founder, we were ready from the incubator program as how they prepared us, and the pitch competitions that we've been through. So all of it together, the environment brought us to be ready, investor ready. So it's very important to be part of an incubator program. I'll reiterate this again for any startup founder.
Thank you. So in terms, as you mentioned earlier, Omar, in terms of the pitch deck, I wanted to get your both points of view on this from Omar and from Rashed. What do you want as Rashed, as an investor, to see in the pitch deck itself? And Omar, then you can tell us in specific some advice generally on what areas to highlight in your pitch deck.
So for me personally, I will start with the team. Who are they? What kind of problem they are solving? Their background. Most important is previous failures is very important for me. So connecting all this, from the founding team to the problem they are solving, the size of the market, how big is it, and the product itself. When you have a very good product, especially like an app or a technology product, you need to make sure it's actually working. You don't want to go to the market with a product that doesn't work. So for me, these are the points I'm focused on. I'm not a finance guy. I don't look into the financials too much. I don't, understand most of it. I'm more into the engineering part. But I have, some financial expert who will look into it. But obviously, as a startup, it's very hard to, come up with the proper deal. But you put it based on, the growth, the potential in the market, and other aspects.
So at the seed stage, for example, it's commonly mentioned in the VC world somehow that usually investors, they focus most on the team in specific and the people who are running the startup, because they believe that regardless of how big or how innovative your idea, still it needs a really good team who has good dynamics, who had enough expertise to actually push it forward. And in case market did not show to be a really sustainable or a viable business, then you as an investor would have trust that this team will still drive something and bring something innovative to the market. So from your own point of view as an investor, do you focus also, let's say, on the team for the seed round, or you take into consideration all the factors you mentioned equally?
Well, number one is team. So whether is it seed or even future rounds, as long as you have motivated and hungry people there, they will continue growing. If you don't have the right people leading the company, it will not go anywhere.
Perfect, thank you. Omar, from your point of view, and when you were developing your pitch deck, what tools did you use, for example, that the founders we have now on the call, they can actually use or consult? Do you have any specific softwares, any specific tools you use that you can actually recommend to them?
So I used to do some kind of cheating. So I used to look into on LinkedIn, there were old pitches of Facebook, and the old startups. I used to look into their pitch decks, how they looked like. I used to watch some startup founders on YouTube, how they pitch to investors. And they tell you certain conditions and certain requirements. What's the first page should look like? What's the second page? How many pages it should be? Shouldn't be more than 12 or 15 and so on. And they all kind of work, But at the end of the day, I'll be very honest with you. In this market where we are right now, in the GCC or in the UAE itself, you really, really need an edge, more than a pitch deck. So a lot of people will come with an idea and a pitch deck, but you really need an edge. And that's to take an initiative yourself as a founder and make the product work. Somehow find ways. Like, Rashed said, you've got, he'd love to invest in hungry founders. And that's for you to be hungry, you've got to go and find solutions. You have to show as an entrepreneur that you are able to even try to launch before any investment comes to you somewhere, somehow. And you went right and you went left and you found a way out. And it just shows that you are able to find solutions to your problems. And so your startup will always be, you will always be under good control, with yourself as a startup founder or as a CEO or CTO or CFO, whatever, as the founders. Collective founders are also really good. If you have a co-founder, this is really good for startup, for investors. Now with the pitch deck, at least somehow a working product or something that you can demo to the investors. You can always learn online from what is the best pitch decks, but the incubator programs, they will teach you. Even in FI were doing sessions in terms of improving your pitch deck. They were even doing dummy pitches to the mentors. So the startup founders, this is how so when you join a program, they will do these dummy pitches. They will tell you what to do, where to fix, and so on, where to correct. And these are the important factors of being part of a program. So being part of a program, online old startups that succeeded, like Facebook and so on, all of them have pitch decks that you can check on and show that you are able to move your product ahead in the market. In this market today, the investors want to see something working. I don't think you will find a lot of investors that are interested in just ideas. And one more thing that will have an edge for you is let's say if you are a financial company, or if your startup is in the fintech world, for example, an edge would be that you've applied for a finance license or for a financial license. There's these testing licenses that are in DIFC or in ADGM. So when you apply for them, you have an edge on the other. So this is one of the edges that you want to build for yourself as a startup founder. These little edges help you. And so when the investor comes, he's ready to put the money in for a complete founding startup, with all the stuff connected.
Mm-hmm. Like well-developed and well-established company in all its formations. Thank you.
Yes.
Actually, also another tool I really love is SlideBean. I'm going to share their link here. They also have templates of the earlier Airbnb, Uber, Facebook, and other big companies when they first raised their rounds. So yes, consulting such templates will even literally let you understand what areas to focus on in terms of your pitch deck and what pieces of information to add here or there. Thank you for the feedback. In terms of like, I have a question actually in terms of like your second round, Omar. Like, okay, Rashed, you found him by pure chance, and it was literally pure chance and community event that brought you together. In terms of the other investors, where and how did you actually approach them to raise the future rounds with them?
So when you see a lot of the investments today in those who are in second round and third round, especially VC investments into startup, you will always see that the ones who invested in the first round have invested in the second round, participated in investing in the second round with another VC, and so on. And the third round, all the ones in the first round and second round, they're participating in the third round. So it's important that you know that if your first investor was happy with you and they are satisfied with your work, actually it comes from them. So in Falasi, actually we raised 3 times. We've raised first time with Rashed, and then we raised a second round. Rashed, he referred us to one of his friends who is also an angel investor, and he's invested in a second round. And then the third round was the biggest round, which was $2 million, and it was also a referral from Rashed. So Rashed referred us to an investor on the third round, and this is exactly the point that I want to share with you, is that if you as a founder, as a startup founder, have satisfied your first investor, all the startups in their second and third round, their first investors have invested in. Have you not satisfied your first investor, you cannot raise a second round and third round. It's impossible, actually. So you work with your first investors. We've worked together, and then we've been referred a second time. We have been referred in a third time. And now we are in this third stage we've raised $2 million. And actually, it was really satisfying to know that our investors are very satisfied with us. They're happy with us, with our work. And our product is penetrating the market in the targets that we have given ourselves. We are achieving what we have told ourselves that we will achieve, and we're reaching our goals. And it's really good for us. It's also important for us to motivate us as founders that we keep going in the market, keep producing, keep offering. And obviously the returns also from our clients, like our customers, our merchants, they're also our investment, because we get revenue. Our revenue in the first year was, I think it was 200,000 dirhams. By last year, we've passed over 100 million. So, our investors are also our clients. If they're happy with us, they refer us to other clients. They refer us to their friends who are business owners. They refer us to their friends who can be a customer of Falasi. And you should look at everyone as your investors. And this is what a successful startup founder would do.
Tabo, did you actually do you have, for example, a wide range of different types of investors? By that, I mean, for example, do you have angel investors on board, private organizations, in addition to VCs? Or is there a specific type of investors who invested in you throughout the whole rounds?
Okay, so throughout my whole Falasi journey, it was either grants that were given to Falasi from incubator programs or from pitches, or it was straightforward angel investors. So we have 3 angel investors in Falasi.
Okay, I love this actually, because you're tapping onto also a topic that there are so many different ways to raise funds for your own startup. So literally don't need to follow one trajectory only. As you mentioned, there are grants, there are startup competitions, there are also individuals and angel investors. And even for an angel investor, like, look, you raised, you guys, $2 million so far. So don't think just angel investors will give you some small tickets. You never know how much an angel investor is willing to invest in a startup, given that it literally the promising future it has in the market. So thank you also on raising this point.
You're welcome.
In terms, for example, Rashed, what from the investor point of view, for example, which round is the hardest for you to actually pitch in? Which one you feel you need to do a lot of due diligence and literally assess? I assume it's a well-known rhetoric question, but still I wanted to raise this.
Probably something maybe at Series A and above. So something where you have traction, you have transaction are coming, and you have even a bigger team to evaluate, to check on. So this is, it takes time. It's It's not like the seed or pre-seed. Yeah, I think Series A and above, this is where, it takes more deep researching and looking into a company.
Perfect, thank you. So even though seed is literally the first riskiest somehow round, but you found that actually, no, the bigger rounds are even riskier. So that's an amazing insight. Thank you. We have a question from the audience, which is like, what value did investors give Falasi aside from the financial gain or support they offered you? So can you also elaborate a little bit more on this, Omar?
So actually, my investor, Rashed, he was one of my first customers, one of my first clients. And so it was a lot of the times we had feedback from his team who were using Falasi, either a technical feedback or even some kind of advice. And even himself, he was, so in Falasi, we have a platform for businesses. Also, we have an app for customers. So let's say today, you want to pay your Etisalat bills or recharge your due credit, you can do that on Falasi app. So actually, Rashed downloaded the app as a customer and he was using it and he was sharing with us his ideas. Actually, he shares with us his ideas till today. And so from being a customer, it's very important that we listen to him as a customer. And also his team, being their business is under Falasi as a merchant, they share with us their feedback and we listen to them as our merchants. And so we improve our technology, we improve what we offer to our merchants and customers based on their feedback, looking at them as our clients. And that's different from looking at them at Rashed as our investors. It's a different scenario, which is really good, very helpful. So if your investor is actually participating, all our investors are actually our clients. So all our 3 investors are business owners who are using Falasi as businesses, and one of them is just our customer. He's using Falasi as a customer app, Falasi app, and 2 of them are using it as for their businesses. So which is really good for us. So imagine your investors are also your business, are your clients. They give you feedback as clients. It's really, really helpful actually. So which is really good.
Perfect, thank you. So also it's widely recommended also to look for investors who can enrich your journey as a founder, not only by giving you monetary support, but also to look for investors who are willing to mentor you and even to establish connections. And similar to Falasi's case, the connections that Rashed brought on board of Falasi are also really of unmatched value, honestly, for the growth of the whole platform. So this is also my take, honestly, on this specific point. We have another question from the audience, which is like the importance of finding investors in the same exact industry as you. What is your take, both Rashed and Omar? I would love to actually get your feedback on this. How important it is to look for founders who literally understand what you're doing or who are in your space or have expertise somehow from a user point of view, or even an expert, industry expert in your specific industry.
Umar, you can go ahead first.
No, Rashed, you go ahead.
So, after having, most of the companies I was involved in or started, most of them I have founded them by myself, and I wouldn't recommend this to anyone because it is very tough, and you need someone to support you. You need to find someone who will support you and be part of this journey. And don't go do it yourself. I wouldn't recommend people to go and start their own companies. Go find a co-founder who have the same passion and who's willing to invest with you the time and the effort and want to build something great.
Well, in terms of investors, do you think that you should also target investors, whether angels or even VCs who are in your space? Who understand, let's say, for example, the technicalities of your application or your platform?
See, at the beginning or here in the Middle East, it's very hard to find, let's say, tech investors or angel investors. Initially, yes, you need to bring in angels. If you just have an idea, you need to have angels who, first of all, trust you, know you. Here in the Middle East, they need to know you and they need to trust you, and they need to know that what you are doing here is a business. There is a risk of succeeding or failing. And then, you need to find people who are surrounding you. So it's easier for you to go talk to your brother, sister, cousin to fund you, or friends also. So this is the initial stage. Unless you are well connected with, let's say, big investors or VCs, I think, yes, you can utilize this connection, and you need to have a lot of fun to operate. If you are expecting that from the first year you will need to have $1 million, then you need to ask for $3-4 million. You don't know what will happen. This is business. Anything could happen anytime. So things might not work out. You might pivot. So you need to be ready for everything.
Exactly. A common advice in the VC world and in the literally startup world is to raise funds before you even need them, because you never know when this amount is actually needs to be deployed into developing the technology or in whatever it needs for the business. So thank you for raising this point, Rashed. And Omar, from your point of view, did you also try to target investors who are in the financial space, let's say, or no, it was literally a pure assessment from theirs on the opportunities available in this industry?
So I was very, so my co-founder is a techie. So it was very important for me to have a techie co-founder. And our first investor, Rashed, he was also from a techie background. So it was a good connection that an investor, a techie background investor, is investing in a techie startup. So this makes it easier for you as a startup founder to communicate with everyone who's involved in your startup, either an investor or a co-founder and your team and so on. And that's because everyone understands the technology, and they understand the challenges behind it, and they understand all the things that go around it. So this is very important for you, that you know who is investing in you. I mean, if someone doesn't understand technology at all, will be confused, and even if they've given you the money, they will not understand what you are doing and what you are supposed to do, and they may throw ideas to you that that will send you to the wrong direction. So obviously you will be pressured with ideas always, but if they are understanding the environment that you are in, the technology and so on, it's easier for you. But if they are not understanding, it's going to be very difficult for you. So having a co-founder who is a techie, or yourself that you are a techie, having investors that come from a technology background, or they have. So my other investors have also technology-based businesses. So they all understand tech. Yeah, this is very important, actually.
Amazing. So it's really easier for you to actually communicate with them on so many different levels. Thank you for sharing this.
I think all my investors have their own apps.
Cool. Wow.
They all have their own apps.
They're using Falasi for the payment.
And they're all using Falasi for the.
I love this.
Yeah.
Abdullah is asking, can you get investment without giving up equity? Are there any options around that?
I think you must give equity. Don't see these are mistakes that I've been involved in for the last 8 years. Getting to you're holding the company, it's not worth it. And you need to give equity. You need to see this company grow bigger, faster. And the only way you can do it is by giving equity. So holding a company that will stay very small, it's not worth it.
True. Exactly. Thank you for raising this point, Kamil. لأنه unfortunately, many founders are so passionate about their equity in the company, and literally which damages and comes to interfere with the overall growth of the startup itself. Omar, you wanted to comment on this point?
I mean, if you are really into you understand the startup world properly, there are other ways of raising investments, but they will convert somehow into equity. There is something called convertible notes, for example. But this is if you're really into it, you will understand this. There is something called, it's a form of short-term debt, which will then convert into an equity. I mean, at the end of the day, as a startup founder, this is very well known in the world of startups, is that you kind of it gets financed somehow in return of equity. And this is the investors, they come in and they believe in your idea, and they believe in your vision, and they invest in you. They feel that hopefully one day you return their investment comes back times 10, times 100, and so on. there are other forms where you can finance it through maybe personal loan from the bank and so on. If you are in the tech world, you will definitely don't mind giving up equity all the way to whatever. Because you're a techie, you understand that environment, everyone understands it. However, if you're in the traditional world, where you want to build a business for yourself and make it turn it into a family business, then that's a decision that you will take. And then there are other ways, of course, to kind of finance it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Also, thank you for tapping onto this. So, Kaman,
I would recommend, even if you have the money for the business, don't use this money. You need to bring in an investor. This way you build the relationships. This way you know how to deal with the board and deal with investors. If you have big, let's say, dreams to build. So if you want to go public, if you want to go big and huge, and you never built the experience of dealing with the board or an investors, then this is not worth it. So I would always recommend, don't use your own money. Bring in investors, bring in co-founders. To build a successful company is not a one-person job. It's a team. It's a group of people that will make it successful, not one person.
Thank you for raising all these points. I really love the feedback actually you're sharing. And also another question from the audience is, how do you make sure that the investors are not interfering in business decision and strategy in a way that conflicts with the general mission and vision of the startup itself? So I'm not sure who of you would like to take this question.
I would say be very flexible. Obviously, if your investors have invested in you, they believe in you as a founder or as part of a team, and they believe in your team. They believe in your vision. They believe in your idea. So at the end of the day, they didn't only invest in the idea, because ideas are everywhere. There are so many payment companies, they could have invested in. So it's not only the idea; it's the whole thing. Yourself, the team, the technology, the idea, the concept, the whole thing, where you come from, what's the background, what's the whole thing, they've invested in that. So it's good. It's very important that you respect this and you be very flexible with your investors. There is no investor in the world that will not talk to you, unless they're literally just put the money and they've walked away. Everyone is, if they talk to you, it means that they care. If they come to you, it means that you should be happy with it, So for yourself, you should be very flexible, understand it, take it in, but not everything that you listen has to be implemented. You have a vision, you have a goal, you have a set of KPIs, a set of targets, a set of achievements that you want to achieve. The general thing is being achieved. As long as the general thing is being achieved, all the others, the specifics can be very flexible. You don't have to listen to everything, but it's good to take in. Always remember, as a startup founder, it's very important that you have within you to pivot. Okay, pivoting means you are able to move directions. You've planned to go straight, but somehow one of the investors or someone in your team or somebody told you an idea, or you faced a challenging part. You want to go right, go right. You don't have to kind of stick to the same original plan. It doesn't work like that. It's technology evolves. It's 2022. 2022 is different from 2019 pre-COVID era. So every day there's going to be new things. It's very important that you're able to pivot. So if you're going to pivot, be flexible. If you're going to listen, implement what's needed and continue going ahead forward with your vision.
Perfect. Thank you. Rashed, do you want to comment on this point?
Umar, he covered everything here, but I just want to add something small here. As a founder, you need to show that you are focused also. You need to be focused. Distraction will happen, whether it is ideas or influence from investors. But at the end of the day, it's a business here. And you need to focus on what actually is growing and succeeding and bringing in revenues to the company. And if you ignore some ideas and at the end of the day, the company is growing and succeeding, then it doesn't matter. The investor will still be happy here.
Exactly. Like sometimes there's a fine line actually between a founder committing in full to their own passion towards their startup and to the idea they wanted to bring to life, and them also taking a strategic decision that really can help the growth of the company. So even though you started with an idea, I'm sure you, even Omar, you pivoted a lot in terms of your offering, the way you actually launched Falasi and moved forward with it. And this also shows growth potentials for the startup itself. So don't be that rigid in terms of committing to your original mission and vision, because literally you should follow growth opportunities instead. Another question from the audience is how to choose the type of investor to go after, whether to go after an angel, a VC, or even larger groups. Do you have any advice on this front?
I mean, at the end of the day, money is money, you know. Some people can be very fussy, you know. I'm gonna choose, you know, the investor. I might reject him, I might not like him. Everyone is different. Me, money is money. So if it comes from A, it comes from Z, it's all the same to me. As long as it can help my startup, it can help, it can fund it. My vision will, the idea that me and my co-founder and my team are working on will be successfully implemented in a specific period. Let's say the runway was 24 months or 18 months. With that funding, I'm happy. Couldn't care less where it came from. Everyone is different though. As long as it's in the coming from the legal way, I'm happy, you know. It doesn't matter. It come from a black person, a white person, it come from a yellow person, they're all the same to me.
Rashed, any feedback on this point from an investor point of view?
For me, you know, raising fund would be you know, choosing where an investor would add value. So if there is an investor who can help you to grow 10x faster than any other investors, I would go with this investor. So you know, and getting, you know, there is a lot of players in the market when it comes to, you know, VCs, angels, and all the stuff. I would recommend talking to everyone, you know, and making noise and creating the interest and meeting as much as possible, you know, with investors.
Perfect. Okay. And I have two questions. Two of them, I believe, like they're really interesting questions. Let's start with the first one, which is like in terms of the founders' salaries. Who usually decides on this? And as per the question, who decides salary for founders for a company which gets new investors? Is founder salary discouraging to investors? Because this is also a huge misconception somehow in the ecosystem. So I would love to get your feedback on it. In terms of like getting salaries or paying salaries for the founders out of the round.
As an investor, yes, you want the founder to get paid, you know, to get paid. See, at the end of the day, the success or the failure of a company is based on the founding team. So if they are, you know, financially, you know, good, they can, you know, live a good life. They can be happy with their family and pay for the, you know, health insurance and other stuff. It's very important to have them paid well, but not, not, high salaries that will make the company fail in 6 months. It should be reasonable. There should be justification. We as investors, we don't look into it much. Salaries are expenses, and people, deserve to get paid. But at the end of the day, can they sustain? Can they grow? Can they reach their goals or not?
Would you go for co-founders with the same, let's say, market rates for people in their expertise, years of experience, or should you, as a founder, have a less package than the regular offered packages in the market?
It depends on the level and the stage they are in as a startup. So if the startup is a very early stage and they really need the cash to stay there and to continue growing, then of course you need to see the founder pay himself less salary, of course, lower than his experience, just to make sure the startup will grow. If the company keeps growing and sustain and makes really good cash flow and have even raised more fund, then why not? He can get paid higher than what he used to get.
Okay, perfect. Omar? salaries of
Okay,
founders?
so yeah, it's okay. You as a startup founder, if you are passionate about your startup, you would first of all put sustainability of your company as your number one aim and number one target. So make sure that you have that passion in you, regardless of how much you've raised as an investment. Always make sure that the first thing that is to make sure your startup lives as long as possible. That's number one. In my experience, in my specific experience, we've paid salary to our employees in our first 2 years. Me and my co-founder, we didn't take any salary from the company in the first 2 years. However, we paid our techies, we paid our business developers, and they were not paid market rates, but they were paid a little bit below that. However, they've been amongst us for a very long time, and some of them stayed with us, some of them left, and we got new guys in, and so on. And always, as a startup founder, look for interns, look for different guys that you can. So sustainability is the word here. Make sure your startup is sustainable. If you are passionate, if you are truly passionate startup founder, you will try to make your startup live as long as possible. It's not about the money today, because you are a shareholder of this company. You have a lot of shares in this company, especially as a founder or a co-founder or the original team member. You have so much shares. So if you build this company to the right manner, in the right way, tomorrow you will be, the seeds will grow, and it will be reflecting on your finances. However, this year we started to pay the founders. So we've paid the founders. It's not the market rate; it's very well below the market rate. It's just to tell ourselves that we are now a healthy startup. We give the confidence back to our startup that this startup now can sustain. It has been sustainable. It can sustain itself, and we can pay the founders today in a very low rate. And also we've increased the rates of the team members and the employees in the team. So we've given them a better salaries, and then today we look ourselves and we are very comfortable. We are very confident. We have high revenues that are coming in the company, so it's only right. However, we like Rashed said, you don't overpay yourself, or you don't say I am a CEO, so I'm gonna type in Google what's the average CEO salary in the UAE. I'm gonna get the same as that. That's now you are not being a startup founder. You're trying to kill your startup. You want to let your startup, make your startup as a passionate founder, live as long as possible and succeed. You will see the results with your shares. Remember, you still have shares, right? You will see the results one day, either an exit or a IPO or something. Then we will all, as a founder, this is your goal. Your goal is to kind of succeed also financially. So there will come your time. Just make sure that you live to that time as a startup. Let your startup live to that time.
I love this, actually. I love the mentality, even like literally doing whatever it takes to make your startup actually succeed and move forward. I don't think we have enough time to address all the questions. So I wanted to address on a point I really loved that was raised by Sam. So in case you guys have any follow-up questions, or you wanted to even sit with Omar or with Rashed, feel free to reach out to us by email, and we can coordinate on addressing your questions in specific. The last question I want to end up with, which literally replies back to you giving whatever it takes for your startup to actually succeed, is honestly and practically, how do you as founders handle the emotional and social pressures, even I would add on top of this the financial pressures of founding a startup? So if you can also give us like a general tip, both from Rashed and Omar, I would really appreciate it. And you are founders yourselves.
Go, Rashed.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
The pressure will continue coming. The stress will always be there, and it will keep growing. If you want to grow, yes, it will keep coming. So it's a way you build a relationship with all of this stress and challenges and issues that you are facing. The way you deal with it will be developed, and more stress will be easy on you. So with time, you will be able to handle it. But if from the beginning you cannot handle it, then maybe it's not the place for you. Founding a company or being in the market is very tough. If it is easy, everyone will go there and start their own company. So it's not something easy, but you need to be able to handle the stress. Now, this is why I'm recommending always have co-founders. For me, I don't have co-founders, so I'm surviving by myself. But yes, I would recommend always have one or two co-founders who can take part of this stress. Mar?
So I would say that generally in life, there is always pressure from everything and everywhere. Today, if you're a startup founder, you will have pressure. And if you're an employee, you will have pressure. You will come to work. Some people hate their work. They come, their boss is on top of them. They have KPIs, they have things to follow. And so if you're a startup founder, the same thing. It's just that you yourself as a human being recognize where you are in the world, which stage you are, at what position you play, and play it to the most successful that you can achieve as a person, regardless of where you are. So just take that yourself as a person and play that position properly. And wherever it is, everywhere in life, whatever you do, wherever you go. Today, if I become an employee, I will have pressure. Me as a founder, I have pressure. Everywhere you will find pressure. It's there's a guy, I think I was listening to him the other day, but I don't know. So he said it's all risky. So I'm gonna say you will always find pressure. He said everything in this life is risky. The moment that you are born into this life, you are facing risks, and so on. And for me, I would say everywhere you go, there is going to be pressure. Everything that you do, there's going to be pressure. Every step that you take, there is pressure that you will be challenged on. Face it. Play it.
Exactly. And definitely, like, pressure is part of our daily lives, regardless where you live and which part of the world you come from. You have so many pressure and lots of pressure and so many stressors around you. So it's literally a part of our lives. However, for founders, I believe we should be really careful about stress and pressure not breaking us and breaking our company in general. Because if we are not mentally and emotionally good, we would not be able to actually move forward with the journey, and it will literally break us and break our company in general. So some of the feedback I would give is literally finding the right support group around you somehow. So join communities like LaunchDXB, let's say, Founder Institute, Incubators, Accelerators. The mere fact of you sitting with other founders who are sharing similar scenarios like you, challenges like you, will make you really understand how big problems you had in your head are actually smaller than expected, and sometimes how the same exact challenges you're facing, other founders are facing as well. And by merely talking about them together and coming up with some practical ideas to address these challenges will make your life way easier. So my advice on this front is literally to speak with people who understand what you're passing through, because their experience will help you overcome all of the stress you're facing yourself. So this is it for us. We're finishing on point. Thank you, Omar and Rashed, for joining today. This was really an enriching conversation. I really appreciate all the feedback and thoughts you shared. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you, Diala.
Thank you so much, Diala, and thank you so much, everyone.
Always a pleasure. Bye-bye, you guys.